name is Mark, and I'm a detective with the Manchester City Police. 3 years ago, I received a strange report from an old hotel on the outskirts. The hotel manager called me, his voice trembling. "Detective, we have a problem in room 403. Guests are leaving screaming, saying something watches them while they sleep." I laughed at first. I told him, "It's probably a wiring problem or noise from the pipes." But he insisted. "For 3 months now, everyone who sleeps in that room wakes up in the middle of the night and sees a tall black shadow standing in the corner. The shadow doesn't move, it just stands there and watches, and when they turn on the light, it disappears." I decided to go myself. I took my small bag and a change of clothes. I arrived at the hotel at 10 in the evening. It was an old Victorian-style building with a stone facade and narrow windows. The manager, a man in his 60s, met me, visibly pale. He said, handing me the key, "The room is on the 4th floor, the last one on the right. I'm sorry, but none of the hotel staff will agree to go up with you." I didn't mind. I'm a detective. I've seen plenty of strange things. I walked up the stairs, my footsteps echoing annoyingly in the empty hallway. The 4th floor was completely dark and the lights weren't working. I said to myself, "Looks like this hotel needs some maintenance." I opened the door to room 403 slowly. It was a small room, an old bed, a huge wooden wardrobe, and a large mirror on the wall. The air was very cold even though the heater was on. I put down my bag and sat on the bed. I recorded my initial notes. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. I decided to sleep. I turned off the light and lay on the bed. The ceiling was made of old wood with small cracks. I slowly closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but something was stopping me, a strange feeling as if someone was standing beside the bed. I turned to look. There was no one there. I told myself, "Stop imagining things, Mark." In the middle of the night, I woke up with a start. The room was so cold that my breath turned to vapor. I felt a presence in the room. There was a tall black shadow in the corner next to the old wardrobe. The shadow stood still and silent, not moving at all. I couldn't make out any features. It was just a dense black mass, taller than anyone I knew. I said with a shaky voice, "Who's there? I'm Detective Mark from the Manchester Police." No reply. I slowly reached for the switch beside the bed to turn on the light. I pressed it. The room lit up suddenly. The shadow vanished completely. No one was in the corner. I got out of bed and searched the entire room, under the bed, inside the wardrobe, behind the curtains. Nothing. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the bed with the light on. I never slept. In the morning, I left the room and went down to the manager's office, and he was waiting for me impatiently. He asked, "Did you see it?" I answered, trying to seem composed. "Do you have CCTV footage for the 4th floor?" He shook his head. "Yes, but the only camera on that floor has been broken for a month. Every time we fix it, it breaks again the next day." I returned to the police station thinking, it was truly strange. I spoke to my colleagues, but they mocked me. One said, "Maybe you ate something heavy before bed, Mark." But I was curious. The next day I went back to the hotel, determined to learn the truth. I decided to bring a small camera and hide it in the room. I placed it on top of the wardrobe, pointed towards the corner where I had seen the shadow. I returned the following day to watch the recording. What I saw kept me from sleeping for 3 days straight. On the recording, at exactly 3 in the morning, the wardrobe door opened slowly from the inside. The tall black shadow came out. It moved in complete silence. Then it stood in the corner, in the exact spot where I'd seen it. But the truly terrifying thing was that the recording showed the shadow moving closer to the bed where I was sleeping. It bent down, bringing its face directly over mine, and remained like that for 2 full hours, not moving, just a dark, featureless face inches from my own. And when I turned in my sleep, it quickly retreated back to the corner. The moment I turned on the light, it disappeared back inside the wardrobe. I ran to the hotel. I asked the manager to open the wardrobe with me. The old man brought an old key, and we opened the back panel of the wardrobe, which I hadn't known existed. There was a small hidden door behind it, leading to a tiny secret room, barely a meter wide. We entered the room. On the floor lay an old mattress, some dirty dishes and journals written in a strange hand. The journals belonged to a man named Albert, who had worked at the hotel as a janitor 20 years ago. In one entry he wrote, "I cannot leave. The outside world is too scary. I prefer to live here in the walls. I watch the guests sleeping. It calms me. Sometimes I stand beside them for hours. No one hurts me here." Panic set in. I called for backup. We searched the walls and adjacent rooms. We found the remains of a human body inside the wall next to the heating pipes. It was the body of a very tall man. The coroner later said he had died about 20 years ago, likely from suffocation inside the wall. But the journal entries were recent, written just months ago. I couldn't understand what had happened. How could a corpse, decomposed for 20 years, write recent journal entries? How was the shadow moving? I decided to leave the case open, but every night when I turn off the light, I imagine a tall shadow standing in the corner of my room, watching me silently. I've never trusted dark corners since. Sometimes I wake up at 3 in the morning for no reason, and I swear I see my wardrobe door moving slowly. The story isn't over, at least not for me. I still keep a copy of that terrifying recording, and I still wonder, was Albert alive all those years, living in the walls, or was something else using his corpse to write those notes? My name is Sarah, and I'm a communications officer at a police station in coastal Miami. My job is to take emergency calls all night. Initially, it was a normal job, just calls about car accidents or small thefts. But 6 months ago, something happened that made me seriously consider leaving my job forever. It was a quiet night, and the sea in front of the station was reflecting the moonlight beautifully. I was sipping my third coffee, scrolling through my phone when the emergency line rang. I looked at the screen and a strange number appeared, starting with many zeros. I thought it was a technical glitch, but protocol forces me to answer. I picked up the receiver. "Miami Police, what's your emergency?" At first, all I heard was static, like the sound of distant waves. Then came a woman's voice, sounding as if it was coming from very far away. She said in a raspy voice, "Please, help me, I'm stuck." I asked her, "Where are you exactly?" She said, "I don't know, it's dark and very cold. There's nothing around me but water, just water." I thought she was joking, but her voice was truly trembling, full of genuine fear. I told her, "Try to describe what you see. Are there any signs or buildings?" She was silent for a few seconds, then said, "No walls. The sky is completely black and the moon is the only thing giving me some light. I look down, everything is black. I can't even see my body. I'm just floating in the ocean." I was confused. I said, "Then how are you calling me? Where is your phone?" She said in a panicked voice, "There is no phone. I'm just talking. How long have I been here? I don't remember. The days all feel the same. Sometimes I see a ship on the horizon and I scream, but no one ever hears me." My heart began to race. I tried to trace the call through the system, but a message appeared on the screen. Unable to determine location. This is very strange, because our system can trace any phone even if it's turned off. I told the woman, "Try to remember how you got there." She said, "I was at a party on a yacht. Its name was the Shining Star. We celebrated until late, then something happened. A loud bang, the sound of screaming. Then I found myself here. I think everyone died, but I don't know why I'm the only one still talking." I quickly searched the database for the yacht named the Shining Star. One result came up, a yacht that disappeared 5 years ago in the Bermuda Triangle with 28 people on board. No trace of it was ever found. I froze in my seat. I said slowly, "Ma'am, do you know the yacht disappeared 5 years ago?" She was silent for a long while. Then she said, her voice breaking, "That's why I don't feel hunger anymore. I don't feel thirst. I'm just here forever. Help me, please. I don't want to be alone in the dark for eternity." Her voice was filled with genuine horror, a horror that seemed to go beyond death itself. I tried to remain calm for her sake. I said, I will try to send the rescue team. Just stay on the line. But she began to cry. You will never find me. This place isn't on any map. There's no bottom here, no depth. I'm just floating in the void. Some nights, I hear other voices coming from the depths, things swimming below me, voices that aren't human. And suddenly the line went dead. I looked at the screen. The strange number was gone. I quickly logged the call number, but there was no data, as if the call had never happened. I called my supervisor that night and he checked the system, telling me I was probably hallucinating due to fatigue, but I didn't imagine it. I'm certain. 2 weeks later, at the exact same time, the phone rang again. I looked at the screen. It was the same strange number. My hand trembled as I answered. I said, "Hello?" It was the same woman's voice, but this time it was weaker. She said, "I'm still here. It keeps getting colder. I think I'm not alone anymore. There's something very large swimming deep below. I can't see it, but I can feel it. It makes the water vibrate." I asked her, my voice faltering, "What do you want me to do?" She said, "I don't know, just talk to me. Tell me about the world, about the sun, about trees. I want to remember before I disappear completely." I sat and talked with her for a full hour. I described the beach, the warm sand, the colors of the sunset. I spoke while she wept softly, and suddenly she said, "I see a light, a blue light in the deep. It's coming closer. It's so huge, bigger than any animal I know. I think it's seen me." I screamed into the receiver, "Don't look at it." Then I heard a strange sound, a deep resonant sound coming from the depths, a sound that shook the entire receiver and made the lights in the police station flicker for a moment. The woman screamed once, a long scream full of pure terror, then complete silence fell. The line went dead. Since that night, I have not received another call. But sometimes when I'm alone in the police station at night, the phone rings and displays that same number. I answer quickly, but I hear nothing but the sound of distant waves and the sound of something very large breathing slowly in the background. I don't know who or what is calling me now, but I have never felt safe by the ocean again. I avoid beaches, I avoid boats, because I know now that there is something in those deep waters, something hungry, something that has been holding entire souls captive for years, and I wonder every night, is the woman still there or is something else using her voice now? My name is Daniel, and I was a newly appointed patrol officer in a small town in Oregon State. The town was boringly quiet, mountains, forests, and dirt roads. Nothing serious had happened there for 20 years. But 2 months ago, the police chief assigned me a task that changed my life. He said, "Daniel, there's an old police station on the North Forest Road. It was the main station for the town before the new one was built in the 70s. It's been abandoned for 50 years. A few days ago, we started getting repeated calls from that station's number." I looked at him in surprise. "How? The station is abandoned and has no phone lines." He nodded. "That's what we think. But the calls come every day at the same time, 12 midnight. Someone breathes on the line, then hangs up. I want you to go there tonight and watch the place. Maybe it's vandals." I felt uneasy, but I was new and wanted to prove myself. I took my gun, my flashlight, and some snacks and drove my car through the dark forest road. The trees were so dense they blocked out the moonlight. I arrived at the station around 11 at night. The building was truly terrifying, rotten wood, shattered windows, and doors that creaked with every gust of wind. I entered cautiously, turned on my flashlight, and looked around. Dust covered everything, old desks, yellowed paper scattered around, and an old map of the town still hanging on the wall. There was a strange silence, a heavy silence not like the normal quiet of the forest. I sat on an old chair in the reception room and waited. Time passed slowly. I kept looking at my watch, 11:50, then 11:55. My heart started beating fast. I don't usually admit to fear, but something about this place was wrong. At exactly 12 midnight, the old telephone on the reception desk rang. The phone was black, an old rotary type covered in dust. It rang once, twice,
3 times. The sound was incredibly loud in the silence. I approached it slowly, my hand trembling as I lifted the receiver. I put it to my ear. I said nothing.
I heard the sound of heavy breathing, slow and steady. The sound was deep, like that of a very large person. I listened for 30 seconds, then said, "Who is this? This is police property."
The breathing stopped suddenly. Then came a man's voice, a hoarse and old voice. "Officer Daniel?" My blood ran cold. How did he know my name? I hadn't told anyone about my task tonight except the chief. I said in a strained voice, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" The voice said, "We know all the officers here. We are part of this station. Didn't you read the sign outside?" I interrupted him. "There is no sign." I looked. He said, his voice deepening, "Look again." I turned slowly towards the broken window overlooking the entrance. I aimed my flashlight outside. There was an old plaque mounted on the exterior wall, which I hadn't noticed when I entered. It was written in faded handwriting. North Forest Police Station, established 1923, closed 1973, in memory of the 5 officers who vanished in the line of duty. I hurried back to the receiver. "What does this mean? Who are the 5 officers?" The voice said, "We are. We were here on a winter night in 1973. We received a report about an intruder in the forest. We all went out, 5 officers to search. We entered the forest, but we never came out. No one knows what happened to us. Our bodies vanished, but we came back here, to the station we loved." I was sweating coldly. "Are you saying you're ghosts?" He laughed a raspy laugh. "We don't like that word. We prefer to say we're remaining. Ever since we've protected the station. We answer the phone every night at midnight. We wait. Maybe someone will come and free us." I asked him, "How can I free you?" He was silent for a moment, then said, "We have to show you what happened. Come to the archive room in the basement." I didn't want to go. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but something pulled me in. I wanted to know the truth. I walked down the rotting wooden stairs to the basement. The air was freezing and smelled of mold. I opened the archive door. It was a small room filled with old files. And in the middle of the room, there were 5 old telephones on the floor, each placed neatly next to the others. I picked up one of the phones. It wasn't connected to any wire, but it rang in my hand. I put it to my ear and heard another man's voice, different from the first. "I'm Officer Wilson. I was the first to see the thing in the forest. It wasn't human. It was very tall, with white eyes. It looked at me and I disappeared." I picked up another phone, another voice. "Officer Morgan. I ran as fast as I could, but the forest never ended. The trees were moving. I was running in circles until the world vanished." And so, phone by phone, I heard the voices of the 5 men describing their fate. The thing in the forest hunted them one by one. It didn't eat them. It made them vanish from existence, trapped between life and death, confined to this station forever. And suddenly, I heard the sound of heavy footsteps on the floor above. Slow, heavy footsteps, not those of normal humans. I hung up quickly and hid behind a shelf of files. I heard the sound moving down the stairs. It was something very large, breathing heavily. It was dragging something behind it. I waited until the sound faded, then ran outside as fast as I could. As I ran, I heard the phones in the basement all ring at once, simultaneously, a loud and jarring sound that cut through the forest silence. I heard a deep voice calling from the depths, "Daniel, don't run. You will become one of us eventually." I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I sped off down the forest road. In the rearview mirror, I saw something standing in the middle of the road. It was very tall, taller than any human, with glowing white eyes in the darkness. It was slowly waving its hand at me. I arrived at the new police station early in the morning. I walked into the chief's office, my face pale. He looked at me and said, "Are you okay, Daniel? You look like you've seen a ghost." I answered in a broken voice, "You cannot send anyone there again." He smiled a strange smile and said, "I know. I was there too, 30 years ago.
The thing in the forest let me leave on the condition that I sent someone every year. This year, it was your turn. I'm sorry, Daniel, but it knows your name now. Since that night, I sleep with the light on. I fear seeing him standing outside my window. And worse, my phone rings every night at 12 midnight. I no longer dare to answer, but I know who is calling. And today, when I look in the mirror, I see my eyes are starting to lose their color, becoming whiter. I think I'm starting to fade away, just like the 5 officers. And I know the day I must return to that old station is coming soon.
To become the 6th voice that answers the phone at midnight, waiting for the next victim the chief will send.